This is Chandler for the Grappling Conjecture. Let's talk about WNO 22 Rodriguez versus Hugo. This was one of the first major events of the year, and I think this might be one of the best events of the year. I don't know because, there's a lot of year to go, but this one is pretty good. Let's talk about some of the matches and the results. The first match was Dori Aoun, who defeated Kyle Chambers via decision. Sorry if I messed up your name. Next we have Ashley Funegra, who defeated Marilyn Cruz via decision. Next we had Daniel Sattler, who defeated Max Hansen via armbar. This is an amazing match. Next we have Elijah Dorsey, who defeated Ivan Herrera via Thunderlock, which was surprising but also a great match. That was it for the prelims. If you haven't seen that, you can actually watch those for free on Flograppling, so go over there and watch those if you want. Those are really good. But on to the main card. The first match we had was Jacob Couch, who defeated Sebastian Rodriguez via outside heel hook very quickly. And then we had Tynan Dalbra's second no-gi match, and this was against Oliver Taza. Tynan defeated Oliver Taza via decision. Next we had Adele Fornerino, who filled in for Fionn Davies, and she defeated Amanda Alaquin, Tubby, via Aoki lock. The next match was Diego Oliveira Pato, who defeated Dante Leon via outside heel hook, and this was actually for the 155-pound strap. Diego Pato is now the 145, I believe, and 155-pound champion, so champ. The next one we had was also a title fight. It was Mika Galvao, who defeated Kenta Iwamoto via rear naked choke. I think it was a one-handed rear naked choke, actually. And the final match we had was Victor Hugo, who defeated Nicholas Rodriguez, Nicky Rod, via decision. So those are the results, but let's get more into how they won, the stats, and everything else. The first match was Dori Aoun versus Kyle Chambers. This one was actually a bit slow to start. It was basically Kyle Chambers laying on his back, Dori trying to pass, and nothing much happened. Kyle did have a few nice leg entries, and I think an omoplata entry. He went for like a choi bar and then went into a leg lock, which was decently close. But besides that, it wasn't much happening. Then around the second half of the match, Dori kind of turned it up and got some positions on Kyle and really, sealed the deal and managed to get the win that way. The first part of this match is a little bit boring. The second half was pretty good, so check it out if you want. It's not a must-watch, but it's watchable, so check it out. I wasn't too familiar with Dori, but I'll be looking for his next matches. Next up, we have Ashley Funegra versus Marilyn Cruz. I believe Ashley's twin sister, I think it's Mia, was on the last one, so now Ashley's making her debut, and she won fairly easily against Marilyn Cruz. There wasn't a submission, which was a little bit disappointing. I think this was kind of set up as a welcome party for Ashley Funegra, and they're hoping she would, defeat Marilyn in, triumphant fashion, but that didn't really happen. Ashley was able to pass her guard over and over again, so if you want to see some good passing, this is actually a good match to study for that. But Marilyn was actually very tough and was able to escape the positions over and over. I think that's probably why the passing stats are up so high. Good job, Marilyn, actually escaping those, but Ashley won fairly easily here. This is actually a good and fairly action-packed match to watch if you want to see lots of passing and top game work. Now, this is a match you definitely want to watch. I believe this should be free on YouTube, so go over there right after you watch this video and watch this one. This one was short, but very, very sweet. I actually thought Max would win because I think he's a bigger name, but Daniel Sattler came out there aggressive and it looked great. I believe the first thing that happened was Max came in, he tried to go into like a K-guard, into, let's say, maybe a heel hook or a knee bar, but Sattler immediately countered him and went into a crab ride, but couldn't quite get it. But then they reset. Max looked to work his guard again, and Daniel Sattler just jumped over his guard with a flying triangle, and he had it really tight, and Max tried to slip out, but as he did, Sattler caught him in an armbar. This was a super fast match, really exciting, action-packed, and one of the greatest submissions I've ever seen. This will definitely be on the submission of the year list, so check this out if you haven't done it. It's fast, exciting, and just great technique. This is a must-watch. Next up, we have Elijah Dorsey versus Ivan Herrera. I believe Dorsey kind of had a reputation of being somewhat of a boring fighter after his ADCC trials run, especially because of his match with Nicky Ryan. But he showed he's anything but in this match. He went after Herrera very, very hard. I was actually shocked at how fast he was coming at him. Eventually, this led to him passing, and he took his back. And on his back, Herrera tried to defend by putting both his arms up to stop the choke from coming in, and Dorsey just locked in a thunderlock, and that was all she wrote. Dorsey also had some nice setups for arm locks and things too. He couldn't quite get them, but I was really surprised about how aggressive he was and how much he really wanted the sub. He got this fairly quickly. It wasn't one of the fastest here, but that's because some of the other people here were just going nuts. It was a fast submission though, and it really showed that he deserved to win those ADCC trials. That was not a fluke. He went crazy on this match. Okay, now let's get into the main card. We have Jacob Couch here, who said, "I'm here for a good time, not a long time." He went after Sebastian Rodriguez fairly hard. He pulled guard. He was doing lots of interesting stuff with De La Hiva guard as well, but eventually he just caught his leg, and that was all she wrote. He caught him with an outside heel hook, and Sebastian couldn't get out. It looked really tight, and he adjusted it a few times, went from an outside heel hook to an ankle lock, and then back to the outside heel hook, and that was it. This was short, sweet, and great. Some people might have thought, Jacob Couch winning the ADCC West Coast or East Coast trials was a fluke, but it definitely wasn't. He showed that he's one of the top competitors at 88 kilos right now. This match was originally supposed to be Tubby Aliquin versus Fionn Davies, but for some reason Fionn pulled out. Maybe she was injured or something. So Tubby requested Adele Fornerino to come in because she knew she was an exciting fighter. Bad move. Adele went out there and went crazy. She just pulled guard, tried to do an X-guard sweep, and then when that didn't work, switched to butterfly Ashy and Aoki locked her. This is now tied for the fastest submission in WNO history with Nicky Ryan's heel hook over Tony Ramos, I believe. And this was just incredible. If you're interested in Aoki locks, this shows just how effective they are. This was over in a snap. So watch this if you can. This is also a much watch, just for that technique itself. Now we have Tynan Dalpra's second no-gi match. They have him matched up against Oliver Taza, who I guess is embracing his status as a gatekeeper. They kept calling him that. I thought it was a little bit disrespectful, but he called himself that and didn't seem to care, so I guess it's okay. So he went in there and he had an idea to leg lock Tynan Dalpra, maybe wrestle with him to wear him out. None of that worked. Tynan was actually a bit bigger than him. I thought Tynan was going to be fighting at 77 kilos for ADCC, but now I actually don't know. He weighed in, I think, at 185 pounds right on the dot, which I'm guessing that this match was set at, but Oliver Taza was weighing 77 kilos or something, so he's quite a bit smaller, and it showed. Oliver couldn't get anything done on the feet. He tried a few things, but couldn't get anything done. Tynan took him down several times and then just passed his guard repeatedly over and over again. Taza showed some really good escapes, so if you're looking for things about how to escape side control and things like that, this is definitely one to watch. I think he escaped the back one time too. So it was basically Tynan would pass his guard, Oliver would get out of side control and recover guard or stand up, Tynan would take him back down again, rinse and repeat over and over again. It was a very dominant performance by Tynan Dalpra, but it also showed that Oliver Taza had some very good defensive skills. So if you're looking to increase that, definitely watch this. If you're looking for how to pass a guard, definitely watch this as well. It has lots of interesting technical exchanges, so check it out. A lot of people thought this was a mismatch and Dante would beat Pato fairly easily because he's bigger, he's been beating heavyweights, all this kind of stuff. And Pato basically showed his skills, especially his guard. This was one of the best no-gi guard performances I think I've ever seen. Basically, Pato was using a De La Hiva variation like the R guard and reverse De La Hiva together and just switching back and forth ridiculously fast. He was really going after Dante aggressively with the off balances. I think he sat him down maybe 4 or 5 times. You could tell that Dante was perplexed, befuddled, discombobulated. He really couldn't get his game going at all. Pato came at him aggressively from the guard. Dante was doing something where he would just pinch his knees together to stop Pato's leg from moving. but Pato eventually figured it out and just moved that leg in deeper and then hit him with an outside heel hook from a reap that was extremely fast and technical. So I was really surprised about this. I knew that Pato had a chance to win, but I didn't think he was going to be so aggressive and his guard was going to work so well. So definitely check that out. I believe on YouTube, Flograppling released a Fix My Game with him where he goes over this a little bit. So I'm definitely going to watch that again. I think you should too. And definitely watch this match if you haven't done that yet. The second to last match was a title fight between Mika Galvão and Kenta Iwamoto. Lots of people gave Kenta no chance, but I think he actually looked very, very good. He took Mika down over and over and over again, which I was surprised about because I think Mika has been improving his wrestling, but Kenta's just looked better. Unfortunately for him, each time that he was taken down, or he was able to get a takedown on Galvão, Mika just attacked his arm, attacked his neck, etc. He was attacking with arm bars and triangles over and over again. But Kenta was able to escape over and over again. This was really interesting to watch from an attacking and defending standpoint because I was really surprised Kenta was able to escape from so many different submissions. I think this also had lots of techniques in general. This was really, really action-packed and had a high pace. So this is definitely a match I think everyone should watch. It showed lots of interesting things about takedowns, but also takedown defense, how you can use submissions to defend from those. And in the end, Mika was able to finish the one-hand rear naked choke, but I don't think this really drops Kenta's stock at all. Lots of people expected him to be finished, in like a minute or something, but he lasted a while, and it wasn't a one-sided beating. Kenta actually put on a good performance where he was taking him down repeatedly, tried to pass, was escaping from submissions, etc. So I think he looked really, really good and much improved even over what he looked like at the last ADCC. However, I will say Mika is Mika. I think some people are trying to get a match between him and Dalpra in no-gi, but Dalpra is not ready yet. Dalpra looked very good against Taza, but Mika is not Taza. This performance just showed if Tynan goes after Mika with the takedowns he's using against Taza, he's gonna get subbed. So it's not there yet, but I think both of them looked really good. Mika looked just about unstoppable. Finally, we have the clash of the big men. I believe these two have fought 2 times before, and Hugo's won both times. They fought here, and this is Nicky Rod's black belt debut. This was actually a good match as well. They had a high pace, and I think Victor actually appreciated this. In previous matches, Nicky Rod sometimes just gets on his knees and plays kind of cagey. He didn't do that this time. He went after Hugo fairly aggressively, but Victor Hugo's guard was just too good here, basically. I think maybe if Victor Hugo was smaller, didn't have as good of a guard, it might have worked, but I think Hugo is too big, too strong, and his guard is too good and too flexible. He was able to stop Nicky Rod at every turn. I think some people are saying online that Nicky hasn't developed much or is just doing the same thing, but I disagree. He showed a lot of new skills, like he showed not only his body lock and his knee slice, but he showed lots of high step passes that just didn't work. I think one of the problems is they would work on almost anybody else in that division except for maybe Felipe Pena, Gordon, and Victor Hugo. And unfortunately, he's up against Victor Hugo. So that's what happens. Hugo had some nice sweeps. He had, I think, one time an omoplata sweep, and then he got him one other time, I forgot, with some other type of sweep, and he got on top and looked very good towards the end. He actually almost mounted Nicky Rod and took his back, but Nicky Rod has those really fast hips. He was able to switch and get out and reverse back into Hugo's guard at the end. But since this isn't a points match, that got Hugo the victory. Nicky was actually able to pass one time, but Victor escaped and Nicky didn't really get much done. So I think this was a fair decision. It wasn't a completely one-sided beating, but I think it was clear that Hugo won this. I wasn't sure exactly what to put in this, but some people said they wanted stats, so I'm going to give you some stats. You can also check out this and more on my blog, but let's get into what we have here. We have 4 decision wins. In WNO, there's no points, so there's only decisions. But luckily, we got many more finishes. We had 3 leg finishes, 2 arm finishes, and 1 neck finish. But let's get into what those finishes actually were. Okay, as you can see here, we had 2 outside heel hooks, an arm bar, a rear naked choke, an Aoki lock, and what I'm putting down as an Americana. This was actually a thunder lock, which is different, but the way I have things set up this year, I can't add many more submissions easily, so I'm going to classify that under an Americana. So sorry about that for people that actually want to know why is that there. I'm not adding a Thunderlock category because I'm guessing there's not going to be a bunch of those this year. I might have to change my mind on that later, but that's what it is right now. You can see here there were actually 5 outside heel hooks attempted, but only 1 hit. Same thing with arm bars, had 5 attempts, but none of them hit. The ankle lock and the guillotine, those weren't hitting, and the same thing with the choi bar. Mika had some really good choi bars, but he couldn't get any of them, so there we go. Let's move on to the next category. So almost all of these takedowns were actually done by Tainen Dalpra and Kenta Iwamoto. The other people all pulled guard, so you don't get lots of takedown action. But if you do want to see some takedowns, watch those matches, especially Kenta's. I think he did a really good job with his takedowns. Really nice setups and finishes. As you see here, the single leg came out on top with 5, as you'd expect. The double leg actually had 3 finishes and no failures, which I was surprised about. But I believe Mika also hit a Dayashi Barai that tripped Kenta Iwamoto up, and Kenta hit a Kochigari. He hit the Kochigari and then grabbed it with his hand to make sure he finished it and got Mika on his back. So, as I said, if you really want to see some takedowns, check out the Kenta Iwamoto and Mika Galvao match. That's actually on YouTube now, so you can do that right after you finish watching this. Let's take a look at the sweeps next. What we have here is a bunch of them that only got 1 sweep. So we have a single leg sweep, like a wrestle up. We have a sub sweep. I believe somebody went for a leg lock. I forget exactly. Matrix sweep, which is a little bit rare. Tripod sweep. I should mention these tripod sweeps aren't like the normal tripod sweep. This is kind of the one you do from reverse de la Hiva, where you buckle their knee and knock them down. Diego Patro did this quite a few times to knock down Dante Leon, but couldn't quite finish it. And the last one, the false sweep, I believe this was when Pato went for a false sweep on Dante, and Dante was trying to defend it and kind of fell down, and Pato came on top. So false sweep usually isn't a sweep, but a few times you can actually cause people, fall down and then get the sweep. That's what happened here. There was a bit more action with the passes. As you can see, we had 6 half guard passes, and there was only 5 failures, so I was surprised this was such a high percentage move here. The same thing with the knee slice. The knee slice, there were 3 knee slices and 2 failures. Some people ask me, what is the difference between a half guard pass and a knee slice? Any pass from half guard I call a half guard pass, except for a 3/4 mount pass, which I have slightly differently. The knee slice passes are passes that are probably similar lots of the time, but they don't start in half guard. They start from maybe like a standing position, or when you don't the other person doesn't have a grip on the leg like a half guard. So that's the slight difference. So if someone was in De La Hiva guard and then suddenly punched the arm in and went for it, I call it knee slice. If they're already in half guard and they do the same pass, I'm going to call it a half guard pass. That's why. Just a little bit explanation there. After that, we have 2 Toriando passes, we have 2 smash passes, and lots of people tried double unders, but those didn't work. And we got some high step passes, I think mostly from Nicky Rod, but none of those worked. We have also 2 smash passes, a leg drag, body lock from Tainen, surprisingly. I thought it would be from Nicky Rod, but it actually came from Tainen Dalpra. And we have a knee circle pass, which is a little bit hard to explain. It's similar to like a Toriando, or a leg drag, but instead of using your far leg, you're using your near leg and then just kind of popping over the knee. That's what that is. The positions were a little bit boring for this one. There were 2 finishes from the back, and all the rest of the finishes came from other positions. I don't keep track of outside Ashi, but that's where a lot of the other finishes came from. There's lots of side control, but nobody finished from there. There's a few times people got them out, but nobody was able to finish from there either. So not really too eventful, but you can see the stats there yourself. Finally, we have the action stats. These are based upon action per 5 minutes, so I just divide the matches into 5-minute intervals, and then tell you how much stuff's happening in those 5 minutes. So the average action in 2023 for all the events was 6.5 actions per 5 minute. So here we're getting 7. So this is actually much better than what happened last year on average. And for technique, it was 1.68 techniques per 5 minutes, but here we got, I believe, 2.18. So this is also better than the average, and I think this just proves it was a good event. Check out some of my blog posts for more information. You can compare all the other things to previous events and things, but I think this was a great event, definitely worth checking out. I'll tell you, if you missed this and you think, I don't want to watch the whole thing, the matches you want to watch are Daniel Sattler versus Max Hansen, Elijah Dorsey versus Ivan Herrera, Jacob Couch versus Sebastian Rodriguez, and Diego Pato versus Dante Leon, and also Miki Galvao versus Kenta Iwamoto. That's now on YouTube for free, so this video's almost over. Go over there and watch that one. But before you do that, make sure you subscribe to this. Tell me what you thought about this video. Give me a thumbs up, and be sure to check out my blog for more info. Till next time, see you.